At dinner, my daughter-in-law leaned close enough for me to smell her vanilla perfume and whispered, "I'm pregnant with your husband's baby." I just stared at my plate. The roasted chicken on my fork suddenly tasted like ash. Across the table, my husband Gerald kept laughing at something our son Ethan had said, completely relaxed, as if the world around him hadn't just collapsed. Crystal leaned back into her chair slowly, smoothing one manicured hand over the front of her emerald green dress. She smiled at me over the candlelight. A small smile. A cruel smile. And in that moment, I realized she wanted me to break. "I'm glad you're here. Follow my story until the end, and comment the city you're watching from so I can see how far my story has reached." Family dinners used to mean something to me. For 42 years, Sunday evenings at our house had been sacred. I was the woman who polished the silverware every Saturday night, who baked fresh rolls from scratch, who remembered exactly how everyone liked their steak cooked. Medium rare for Gerald. Extra mashed potatoes for Ethan. Chardonnay chilled exactly 20 minutes before serving. I built my life around those little details. At 68, I still believed family traditions mattered. That night, the dining room glowed softly beneath the crystal chandelier Gerald and I bought during our 10th anniversary trip to Chicago. The mahogany table reflected the candlelight in warm golden streaks. Outside, rain tapped gently against the windows, making the house feel cozy and protected from the world. At least, that's what I thought. Crystal looked beautiful that evening. Too beautiful. Her dark hair fell in soft waves over her shoulders, and her lipstick was freshly touched up every time she returned from the restroom. I noticed things I normally wouldn't have noticed before. The way Gerald avoided looking directly at me. The way Crystal kept checking her phone under the table. The nervous energy moving silently between them like an invisible current. But I ignored it. Women like me are trained to ignore things. We smooth over tension. We protect the mood. We convince ourselves we're imagining problems because the alternative is too painful to face. "So, Mom," Ethan said cheerfully, reaching for another dinner roll. "You still thinking about joining that gardening club?" I smiled automatically. "Maybe in the spring." Crystal suddenly laughed under her breath. Not loudly. Just enough for me to hear it. I looked up. "What's funny?" I asked gently. "Oh, nothing," she said, lifting her wine glass. "I was just thinking how cute it is when people make long-term plans." Gerald nearly choked on his drink. Just for a second. Then he recovered too quickly. Too carefully. A strange heaviness settled into my stomach. I glanced at my husband. His silver hair was slightly damp from the rain outside, and the deep lines around his mouth looked sharper tonight somehow. Older. Guilty. After 42 years of marriage, you learn the language of silence better than words. And Gerald was screaming. Still, I said nothing. Dinner continued around me like a play I no longer understood. Ethan talked about work. Crystal nodded at the right moments. Gerald barely touched his food. Then, while Ethan stepped into the kitchen to answer a phone call, Crystal leaned toward me. Close enough that no one else could hear. Her fingers lightly touched my wrist. And then she whispered the sentence that split my life in half. "I'm pregnant with your husband's baby." For a moment, the entire room disappeared. No rain. No candlelight. No clinking silverware. Only the sound of my own heartbeat pounding inside my ears. I slowly placed my fork beside my plate. Crystal smiled again. But this time, I noticed something underneath her confidence. Fear. Very small. Very well hidden. But there. And somehow, that frightened me even more. I didn't react. Not right away. After 42 years of marriage, you learn something important about humiliation. The louder the betrayal, the quieter you must become. So I reached for my wine glass with perfectly steady hands and took a small sip. Crystal watched me carefully. She wanted tears. Maybe a scream. Maybe a shattered plate crashing against the dining room wall. Instead, I folded my napkin neatly beside my untouched dinner plate. Across the table, Gerald still wouldn't look directly at me. That hurt more than her whisper. Because guilt changes people physically. It settles into their posture, their breathing, the tiny hesitations between movements. My husband suddenly looked like a man trapped inside his own skin. Ethan returned from the kitchen carrying his phone. "Sorry," he said, sliding back into his chair. "Client emergency." Crystal instantly smiled up at him like the perfect wife. I almost admired how quickly she transformed. Almost. "You missed Mom zoning out," she said lightly. "I think she's tired." Gerald forced out a weak laugh. "She's been forgetting things lately," he added. I slowly turned toward him. That sentence landed harder than the affair. Because suddenly, I understood something terrifying. This wasn't impulsive. It wasn't new. And I had the horrible feeling they had already been building a story about me long before tonight. A lonely older woman. Forgetful. Emotional. Unstable. The kind of woman people stop believing. Rain continued tapping softly against the windows while Ethan talked about interest rates and housing prices, completely unaware that his entire life was quietly rotting beneath him. I watched my son speak and felt grief rising slowly inside my chest. Not for my marriage. For him. Because no mother ever carries a child for 9 months imagining this is how his life will end. Sitting across from strangers wearing the faces of family. Crystal reached for Gerald's wine glass casually and took a sip from it. Such a small gesture. But intimate. Practiced. My stomach tightened. And then I noticed Ethan noticing it too. Only for half a second. His smile faded slightly before returning. There it was. The first crack. I looked down at my wedding ring. Gerald bought it for me in 1982 after saving money for almost 8 months. Back then, he worked double shifts at the paper mill outside Milwaukee. He used to come home exhausted, his hands rough and cracked from chemicals and cold weather, but he still kissed me every night like I was the safest place in the world. Now he couldn't even meet my eyes. Funny how betrayal rarely arrives all at once. It leaks slowly into a marriage like water beneath a locked door. A glance here. A silence there. A hand touching the wrong glass. And by the time you finally notice it, the entire foundation is already ruined. "Mom?" Ethan said suddenly. "You okay?" 4 faces looked at me. Waiting. Studying. Measuring my reaction. I smiled softly. "I'm just tired," I said. Crystal relaxed immediately. Gerald exhaled. But inside, something cold had fully awakened in me. Not rage. Not heartbreak. Something far more dangerous. Clarity. And for the first time that evening, I began paying attention to every single thing happening at that table. The rest of dinner passed like a slow-moving nightmare. Every sound in the room suddenly felt sharper. The scrape of silverware against porcelain. Ice shifting inside crystal glasses. The low hum of rain against the windows. And underneath all of it, silence. Not normal silence. The kind that hides things. I watched Crystal carefully now. Really watched her for the first time in years. She sat with one leg crossed elegantly beneath the table, occasionally brushing loose strands of dark hair behind her ear while Ethan talked beside her. She looked calm. Comfortable. Too comfortable. Like someone who believed the hardest part was already over. Gerald barely touched his food anymore. His fingers stayed wrapped tightly around his wine glass as though he needed something solid to hold on to. Every few minutes, his eyes drifted toward me before quickly looking away again. Guilt. Pure guilt. After dessert, Ethan stood and stretched. "Well," he said cheerfully, "I should probably head home before the storm gets worse." Crystal smiled immediately. I'll help your mother pack leftovers. Her eyes met mine when she said it. Another private message hidden inside ordinary words. I nodded calmly. Of course. Gerald remained seated while Ethan carried dishes into the kitchen. For the first time all evening, my husband and I were alone together at the table. 42 years. And somehow, the man sitting across from me suddenly looked like a stranger renting Gerald's face. You've been quiet tonight, he finally said. I almost laughed. Quiet. As if silence was the strangest thing happening in this room. I'm tired. I replied softly. He nodded too quickly. You should get some rest. Not concern. Avoidance. That hurt more than anger would have. Because angry people still care enough to fight. Cowards just hope the truth will quietly disappear on its own. In the kitchen, I could hear Crystal laughing softly with Ethan. Sweet. Warm. Innocent. The performance was almost flawless. Almost. Then I heard it. A whisper. Too low to understand clearly, but enough to freeze my entire body. Crystal's voice. Then Ethan replying quietly, What are you talking about? A pause. My pulse slowed. Something was wrong. Very wrong. I stood slowly and carried empty dessert plates toward the kitchen. The moment I stepped closer, Crystal instantly moved away from Ethan. Too fast. Ethan looked confused. Nobody wants the pecan pie? I asked gently. Crystal recovered first. I was just telling Ethan your recipe is amazing. She smiled perfectly. But Ethan wasn't smiling anymore. He looked pale. And for the first time that evening, I realized something important. My son didn't know everything. Maybe he knew pieces. Maybe suspicions. But not the full truth. That changed everything. Because betrayal inside a family is like a house fire. Some people start it. Others only realize too late they're trapped inside it too. Later that night, after they finally left, I stood alone at the front window watching Ethan's SUV disappear into the rain-dark street. Crystal never looked back at the house. But Gerald did. Just once. And even from a distance, I saw the fear on his face. Not fear of losing me. Fear of what I might do once I stopped pretending not to see. I turned off the dining room lights one by one. The house fell quiet. Cold. Unfamiliar. Then I noticed something sitting beside Gerald's chair on the floor. A phone. Crystal's phone. And suddenly, for the first time all evening, I smiled. I picked up Crystal's phone slowly. The screen lit up in my hand. No password. That surprised me. Women like Crystal usually protected their secrets carefully. But arrogant people make careless mistakes. They start believing nobody is smart enough to catch them. Rain still fell outside while the grandfather clock in the hallway ticked steadily behind me. Midnight had almost arrived. For a long moment, I simply stood there staring at the glowing screen. Then a message appeared. Gerald, did she suspect anything? My fingers tightened around the phone. A second message followed almost immediately. Crystal, she's old, Gerald. She notices less every year. I felt something inside me go completely still. Not shattered. Not broken. Still. Because betrayal becomes strangely calm once the doubt disappears. Once the truth finally stands naked in front of you, your mind stops fighting reality. You simply begin collecting pieces. I walked quietly into the living room and sat in Gerald's leather armchair beside the fireplace. The same chair where he used to fall asleep every Christmas Eve while our son opened presents on the floor beside him. Back then, Gerald looked at me like I was his entire world. Funny how memories can suddenly feel poisoned. I opened the messages. Hundreds of them. Some recent. Some going back almost 2 years. Photos. Hotel reservations. Bank transfers. Inside jokes. Little hearts. And underneath all of it, something even uglier slowly revealed itself. Money. Large amounts of money. Gerald had been transferring funds into an account under Crystal's name for months. Maybe longer. I stared at the numbers quietly. $40,000. $12,000. $8,000. Always labeled as consulting. My husband retired 5 years ago. He didn't consult anyone. A cold ache spread through my chest, but I kept scrolling. Then I found the message that made my hands tremble for the first time all night. Crystal, when are you finally changing the will? Gerald replied 3 minutes later. Soon. Eleanor doesn't need to know until everything is finalized. I read that sentence 3 times. Eleanor. Not my wife. Not even her. Just Eleanor. As if I were already becoming a problem to manage instead of a woman he once loved. Upstairs, I heard floorboards creak softly. Gerald was awake. For one dangerous second, I considered marching upstairs and throwing the phone directly into his face. I imagined his panic. His excuses. Crystal's fake tears tomorrow morning. But anger is expensive. And at my age, I had learned not to waste energy on emotional people. Calm people survive longer. I locked Crystal's phone and placed it carefully beside me. Then I looked around the living room differently for the first time. The framed family photos. The cream-colored curtains I sewed myself 20 years ago. The piano Ethan used to practice on after school. I had built this entire life with my own hands. And somehow, the 2 people sitting at my dinner table tonight had already started dividing it between themselves while I was still alive. That realization hurt far more than the affair. Because infidelity destroys trust. But greed destroys humanity. Upstairs, footsteps moved again. Gerald was coming down the hallway now. Slowly. Carefully. Like a man approaching a wounded animal. I leaned back calmly in the chair and waited for him to enter the room. Still holding Crystal's phone in my lap. Gerald stopped in the doorway when he saw me holding the phone. For a second, neither of us spoke. The firewood crackled softly inside the stone fireplace. Rain pressed harder against the windows now, carried sideways by the wind. The whole house felt darker somehow. Older. Gerald's eyes moved from my face to the phone in my lap. Then back again. I watched the color slowly drain from his face. You're still awake, he said quietly. Such a small sentence. Such a pathetic sentence. After 42 years together, that was all he could think to say. I couldn't sleep, I replied. My voice sounded calm even to me. That seemed to unsettle him more than anger would have. Gerald stepped farther into the room carefully, like a man approaching unstable ice. He wore gray pajama pants and the navy sweater I bought him last Christmas. I suddenly remembered wrapping it while listening to old Frank Sinatra records in the kitchen. Back then, I still believed love could survive old age. Funny. You found Crystal's phone, he finally said. Not a question. A calculation. I nodded once. He glanced toward the staircase, probably thinking about Ethan. About neighbors. About who might hear if this conversation became ugly. Cowards always think about appearances first. I can explain, he whispered. I looked at him for a long moment. Then I asked the only question that mattered. How long? Gerald closed his eyes briefly. Too briefly. Eleanor, how long? I repeated. The grandfather clock ticked loudly between us. Finally, he sat down slowly on the couch across from me, elbows resting on his knees like an exhausted old man carrying invisible weight. About a year, he admitted quietly. A year. 365 days of lies sitting beside me at breakfast. A year of holidays. Anniversaries. Church on Sundays. Family photos. I expected screaming inside myself. Instead, all I felt was disappointment. Not because he betrayed me. Because he became ordinary. Weak people always think affairs make them feel younger, more important, more alive. But sitting there under the dim living room lamp, Gerald didn't look powerful. He looked small. "Does Ethan know?" I asked. His silence answered before his mouth did. "No," he said quickly. "No, absolutely not." For the first time all night, I believed him. Because Ethan loved his father too much. Blindly. Completely. If he had known the truth, tonight's dinner would have ended very differently. Gerald rubbed both hands together nervously. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this," he muttered. There it was. The sentence selfish people always use when consequences finally arrive. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "I destroyed our family." Just, "It wasn't supposed to happen like this." I stared at the wedding photo hanging above the fireplace. We looked impossibly young in that picture. Gerald's arm wrapped tightly around my waist. My lace dress blowing slightly in the summer wind outside St. Mark's Church. We had nothing back then except hope. And somehow, hope had lasted longer than love. "Is the baby yours?" I asked softly. Gerald looked down immediately. Another silence. Another answer. My chest tightened, but I refused to let him see it. Outside, thunder rolled low across the Wisconsin sky. Gerald finally looked back at me, eyes filled with panic now. "Please don't tell Ethan tonight," he whispered. "Tonight. Not, don't leave me. Not, please forgive me. Just fear. Fear of exposure. Fear of consequences. Fear of losing the comfortable life he built on top of my loyalty." And in that moment, something inside me finally became clear. I was no longer sitting across from my husband. I was sitting across from a man protecting himself from the damage he created. And I realized I was done protecting him. I didn't cry after Gerald went upstairs. That surprised even me. For years, I had imagined betrayal would sound dramatic. Raised voices. Slamming doors. Someone storming out into the rain. But real betrayal is quieter than that. It sits calmly in your living room wearing your husband's face. Around 1 a.m, I finally stood from the armchair and walked slowly into the kitchen. The dinner dishes were still stacked beside the sink. Crystal's wine glass sat near the cutting board, lipstick still pressed against the rim. I stared at it for several seconds. Such a tiny mark. Such enormous destruction. I turned on the faucet and began washing dishes carefully, one plate at a time. Hot water steamed against my hands while the house remained silent upstairs. 42 years of marriage had trained me to clean up messes quietly. The difference was, this time I was paying attention. I replayed the evening in my mind slowly. Every glance. Every hesitation. Every sentence layered with hidden meaning. Then another realization settled heavily into my chest. Crystal hadn't whispered that confession to hurt me emotionally. No. She wanted something else. Pressure. Fear. Control. Women like her rarely destroy stability unless they believe they're about to gain something bigger. Money. Security. A future. I dried my hands slowly and walked back into the living room. Gerald's briefcase still rested beside the couch where he had dropped it after dinner. For years, I never touched it. Marriage requires trust. Or at least, I used to believe that. I opened it carefully. Inside were neatly organized folders, reading glasses, receipts, and a sealed white envelope from a law office in Milwaukee. My stomach tightened. I already knew before opening it. The envelope contained copies of estate documents, trust revisions, property transfers. And there, clipped neatly on top, sat paperwork. With Gerald's signature dated 3 weeks earlier. The house. Our retirement accounts. Investment properties in Door County. Everything had been quietly rearranged. Not fully transferred. But prepared. Prepared for me to disappear. I sat down slowly on the couch, papers resting in my lap. The cruelty of it all suddenly became almost impressive. While I baked pies for holidays and mailed birthday cards to relatives, my husband and daughter-in-law had been building an entirely separate future behind my back. One without me in it. I looked toward the staircase. The house creaked softly in the storm. Somewhere upstairs, Gerald was probably lying awake pretending sleep would save him from tomorrow. But tomorrow had already arrived for me. And for the first time in many years, I stopped thinking like a wife. I started thinking like a survivor. That changes everything. At 8 the next morning, I made breakfast exactly like always. Bacon. Eggs. Toast. Fresh coffee. Routine unsettles guilty people more than confrontation does. Gerald came downstairs wearing jeans and a pale blue sweater. His eyes looked exhausted. He froze slightly when he saw me calmly setting the table. "You're up early," he said carefully. "I couldn't sleep," I replied. Neither of us mentioned the night before. Not directly. That's the strange thing about older marriages. Sometimes the silence becomes more sophisticated than language itself. Gerald sat down slowly. His hands shook slightly while pouring coffee. Good. For years, I had been the only one afraid inside this marriage. Now he finally understood what uncertainty felt like. A few minutes later, his phone buzzed on the counter. Crystal. Her name lit up brightly across the screen. Gerald looked at the phone. Then at me. And in that tiny moment of panic crossing his face, I realized something important. They thought I was weak. But weak women don't survive 42 years of disappointment. Strong women do. Quietly. Gerald declined Crystal's call. That surprised me. Not because he suddenly found his conscience. Men like Gerald rarely become honorable overnight. But fear changes behavior quickly. The phone stopped vibrating. Then, almost immediately, another message appeared on the screen. Crystal, did you talk to her? Gerald grabbed the phone too fast. Too nervous. He forced a weak smile at me while slipping it into his pocket. Telemarketer, he muttered. I buttered my toast calmly. Of course, I said. The lie sat heavily between us. Outside, the storm had passed overnight, leaving the neighborhood soaked and gray beneath the Wisconsin morning sky. Water dripped slowly from the maple trees lining our street. Across the road, Mrs. Patterson was walking her golden retriever exactly like she did every morning at 8:30. Normal life continued. That's the strange thing about personal disasters. The world never pauses for them. Gerald barely touched his breakfast. After a few painful minutes, he cleared his throat. I've been thinking maybe we should spend some time apart. There it was. Not guilt. Strategy. I looked up slowly. Have you? He nodded carefully, watching my face the way people watch unstable weather. For everyone's sake, he added quickly. Everyone. Such a selfish word disguised as concern. I took another sip of coffee before answering. And where exactly would I go? Gerald hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. Because they had already discussed this. Crystal. The baby. The revised will. The house transfers. And now this conversation. A quiet removal. Like relocating old furniture nobody wanted anymore. You could stay with your sister in Madison for a while, he suggested softly. I almost smiled. My sister Helen had been dead for 6 years. Gerald forgot. Or maybe he simply stopped caring enough to remember. That hurt more than the affair itself. 42 years together, and the man couldn't even remember where grief had buried my family. I see, I replied quietly. His face tightened slightly when he realized his mistake. But neither of us acknowledged it. Cowards depend on silence the way decent people depend on honesty. A sharp knock interrupted the room. 3 quick taps at the front door. Gerald froze instantly. Interesting. I stood calmly and walked toward the entryway while he remained motionless behind me. When I opened the door, Crystal stood there, wearing oversized sunglasses and a cream-colored coat despite the cloudy weather. Her dark hair was tied back neatly, and she carried herself with the confidence of someone used to controlling every room she entered. Until she saw me alone. Her smile flickered. "Morning," she said carefully. "I think I left my phone here." "You did," I replied. For one long second, neither of us moved. Then I stepped aside slowly. "Come in." Crystal entered carefully, heels clicking softly against the hardwood floor. The scent of expensive perfume followed behind her like smoke. Gerald appeared from the kitchen almost immediately. Too quickly. Too protective. The 3 of us stood there in awkward silence while the grandfather clock ticked loudly nearby. Crystal looked nervous for the first time since dinner. "Good." I handed her the phone. Our fingers touched briefly. Cold hands. She searched my face carefully, trying to understand how much I knew. I smiled politely. Not warmly. Just enough to make her uncomfortable. Then I said the one sentence that finally made both of them panic. "You should be more careful," I told her softly. "Phones can expose dangerous secrets." Neither of them breathed. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I saw genuine fear enter Crystal's eyes. Crystal recovered faster than Gerald did. That told me everything I needed to know about who truly controlled this situation. She slipped the phone into her purse and gave a soft little laugh. "You always were dramatic, Eleanor." Dramatic. Interesting word. Women become dramatic the moment they notice disrespect. I smiled politely. Age gives people sharp instincts. Crystal adjusted her sunglasses. "Well, pregnancy hormones probably make me emotional too." There it was again. That subtle cruelty. She wanted to keep reminding me. Not because she loved Gerald. Because she enjoyed winning. Gerald stood stiffly near the kitchen doorway, saying nothing. Watching 2 women silently circle each other while pretending civility. Cowardice looks exhausting in old men. "Well," Crystal said brightly, "I should get going. Ethan thinks I'm shopping downtown." The lie came naturally to her. Smooth. Practiced. She kissed Gerald lightly on the cheek before walking toward the door. Not a family kiss. Not accidental. A familiar kiss. And she did it right in front of me. I watched Gerald panic afterward. His eyes darted toward me immediately, searching for damage. But I simply folded my hands together calmly. Because once people believe they've already destroyed you, they stop hiding their true behavior. That's when they become careless. After Crystal left, Gerald tried speaking twice before finally managing words. "She didn't mean anything by that." I looked at him quietly. A 69-year-old man defending his pregnant daughter-in-law after she kissed him in his own foyer. Somewhere along the way, shame had abandoned this house completely. "I'm going to the bank," I said calmly. His head snapped upward too quickly. "Why?" There it was again. Fear. Not concern about my feelings. Concern about money. "Because I'd like copies of our financial records," I replied. Gerald stood immediately. "That's unnecessary." Unnecessary. Funny. Affairs were apparently necessary. Secret property transfers were necessary. Changing the will behind my back was necessary. But me reviewing my own finances suddenly crossed a line. I picked up my coat slowly from the hallway chair. "You should rest," Gerald said carefully. "You're upset." That sentence almost made me laugh. For years, women my age have been dismissed with the same language whenever we become inconvenient. Confused. Emotional. Forgetful. Fragile. Men build entire systems around making older women doubt their own judgment. Unfortunately for Gerald, I had finally stopped doubting mine. The drive into Milwaukee felt strangely peaceful. Gray clouds hung low across the freeway while old jazz music played softly through the car speakers. My hands remained steady on the steering wheel the entire time. No tears. No panic. Just clarity. At the bank, the young teller smiled politely when I requested copies of our joint account history. Her smile faded slightly as page after page printed from the machine beside her. Transfers. Withdrawals. Investment movements. Large ones. Much larger than I expected. I carried the paperwork into the parking lot and sat inside my car reading every line carefully. Then I saw it. A payment made 4 months earlier to a private medical clinic in Chicago. $23,000. My stomach tightened. Another payment followed 2 weeks later. Same clinic. Same amount. I stared at the records while cold rainwater slid slowly down the windshield. Something wasn't adding up. Not just an affair. Not just money. Something bigger. Much bigger. Then my phone rang. Ethan. For a moment, I considered ignoring it. But when I answered, I immediately heard something in my son's voice I hadn't heard since childhood. Fear. Mom, he said quietly, I need to ask you something about Dad and Crystal. I gripped the phone tighter. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Rain continued sliding down the windshield while cars moved slowly through the bank parking lot around me. Somewhere nearby, a siren echoed faintly across downtown Milwaukee. Mom? Ethan asked again. Are you there? Yes, I replied softly. He exhaled shakily. I think something's wrong with Crystal. Not with Dad and Crystal. Just Crystal. Interesting. I leaned back against the driver's seat. What happened? There was a long pause before he answered. She's been acting strange for months, he admitted quietly. Secretive. Angry all the time. And last night, he stopped. Last night what? I saw something. My pulse slowed carefully. Ethan lowered his voice. When we got home after dinner, she thought I was asleep. I heard her outside talking on the phone. I closed my eyes briefly. She said the timeline was getting messy. Timeline. Not marriage. Not feelings. Timeline. Coldness spread through my chest. And then she said, Ethan swallowed hard. She said if your father backed out now, everything would fall apart. Your father. Not Dad. Not Gerald. Your father. The emotional distance had already started. Poor Ethan. He still didn't fully understand what he was standing inside. When I asked her about it this morning, she completely lost it, he continued. Started yelling. Said I was paranoid. Classic. Attack the person asking questions. Make them doubt themselves. The oldest manipulation in the world. I looked again at the bank statements resting across my lap. The clinic in Chicago. The transfers. The hidden accounts. And suddenly, pieces started fitting together in a way that made my stomach turn. Ethan, I asked carefully, did Crystal actually show you any medical paperwork? Silence. Then, no, did you go to any appointments with her? No, another silence. Longer this time. Oh my God, he whispered suddenly. There it was. The first real crack in his reality. I stared through the windshield at the gray parking lot while grief settled quietly into my bones. Not for myself anymore. For my son. Because betrayal from strangers hurts. But betrayal from the person sleeping beside you destroys something much deeper. I need you to stay calm, I said gently. Mom, his voice sounded small now. Young again somehow. What's happening? I almost told him everything. The affair. The will. The transfers. The baby. But pain delivered too quickly can destroy people. At my age, I had learned timing matters more than truth itself. So instead, I asked, "Where's your father?" "At the house," Ethan replied immediately. "Why?" I looked down once more at the clinic charges. 2 identical payments. $23,000 each. A procedure. Not prenatal care. Something else. Something expensive enough to hide. "I need to confirm something first," I said quietly. Then I added the sentence that changed everything. "Ethan. I don't think Crystal is pregnant." Silence exploded across the line. For several seconds, I heard nothing except his breathing. Then finally, "What?" At that exact moment, another call flashed across my screen. Unknown number. Chicago area code. A strange chill moved slowly through me. Instinct. Women survive this long by learning to trust instinct. "I have to call you back," I told Ethan softly. "Mom, wait," but I had already answered. A calm female voice spoke immediately. "Hello. Is this Mrs. Eleanor Whitmore?" "Yes. This is Lakeshore Reproductive Center in Chicago. We've been trying to reach Mr. Gerald Whitmore regarding an overdue balance." The world around me went completely silent. Then the woman said 7 words that made my blood run cold. "It concerns the surrogate pregnancy arrangement." I sat frozen inside my car while rain blurred the parking lot around me. Surrogate pregnancy arrangement. The words repeated slowly inside my head like something poisonous. For a moment, I couldn't even breathe properly. The woman from the clinic continued speaking politely, completely unaware that she had just destroyed what little remained of my marriage. "Mrs. Whitmore? Are you still there?" "Yes," I said quietly. My voice sounded distant. Older somehow. "We've been unable to contact Mr. Whitmore regarding the final payment agreement," she explained. "Since this number was listed under the shared financial account, we hoped you could relay the message." Shared financial account. Of course. Gerald had probably assumed I'd never look closely enough to notice. Men underestimate older women all the time. That's usually their last mistake. "I understand," I replied calmly. The woman hesitated. "Would you like me to resend the documentation?" Every instinct inside me sharpened instantly. "Yes," I said. A few seconds later, my email notification appeared. Documents. Contracts. Medical invoices. Legal signatures. I thanked the woman and ended the call. Then I just sat there staring through the windshield while the heater hummed softly inside the car. Crystal wasn't pregnant. Not technically. The baby belonged to a surrogate mother in Chicago. Which meant the entire performance at dinner had been carefully designed to emotionally destroy me before the legal paperwork became final. Gerald and Crystal weren't simply having an affair. They were building a replacement family. A future. A child. And they planned to finance all of it using assets my husband and I spent 42 years building together. I opened the first document slowly. Gerald Whitmore. Crystal Harper Whitmore. I stared at her last name. Whitmore. Not legally. Not yet. But that was the plan. The room inside my chest where grief should have existed now felt completely empty. In its place sat something colder. Awareness. I looked down at my wedding ring resting against the steering wheel. 42 years. Gone. Not because another woman appeared. Because greed finally outweighed decency. My phone buzzed again. Gerald. I answered immediately. "Where are you?" he asked, trying to sound calm. "At the bank." A pause. Then, "You've been gone a while." "Interesting." "Not, are you okay?" "Not, can we talk?" "Just monitoring." I leaned back against the seat quietly. I learned something today. His breathing changed instantly. Tiny things reveal guilt faster than words. What do you mean? I spoke with Chicago, I said softly. Silence. Absolute silence. Then I heard it. Fear. Real fear this time. Eleanor, the surrogate seems expensive, I continued calmly. The line went dead quiet. No excuses. No denial. Because truth destroys language. Finally, Gerald whispered, "Please don't do this over the phone." I almost laughed. As if dignity still existed somewhere inside this disaster. "When were you planning to tell me?" I asked. Another silence. That was answer enough. I closed my eyes briefly. Outside, two teenagers ran through the rain toward a coffee shop across the street, laughing while sharing a jacket over their heads. Young love. Reckless. Innocent. Once upon a time, Gerald and I looked exactly like that. Funny how life ends. Not with explosions. With paperwork. "Eleanor," Gerald said carefully, "we can still handle this privately." Privately. Of course. People who betray you always become obsessed with privacy once exposure enters the room. I opened the final document attached in the email. And suddenly, my entire body went still. Because at the bottom of the contract sat a scheduled trust transfer date. 3 days from now. Everything. The house. Retirement accounts. Investment properties. All of it. They were 3 days away from erasing me completely. 3 days. That was all I had left before my own life legally stopped belonging to me. I drove home slowly through the rain, one hand resting lightly against the steering wheel while my mind organized itself piece by piece. Panic would have been easier. Simpler. But panic clouds judgment. And I suddenly understood why women survive longer than men. We learn how to function while bleeding internally. By the time I pulled into the driveway, the rain had stopped. Completely. Thin gray clouds drifted across the afternoon sky while water glistened on the front lawn like shattered glass. Our house looked exactly the same. That almost made me angry. How dare something remain beautiful after betrayal entered it? Gerald was waiting inside the kitchen when I walked in. He stood immediately. "Eleanor," I held up one hand. He stopped talking. Good. For 42 years, I had listened to this man explain things. Finances. Decisions. Excuses. Business investments. Why he stayed late at work. Why he forgot anniversaries. I was done listening. "I invited Ethan over for dinner tomorrow," I said calmly while placing my purse on the counter. Gerald's face changed instantly. Fear again. "You shouldn't involve him." Interesting. Not, "We shouldn't hurt him." Just, "Don't involve him." As if our son were simply an obstacle standing in the way of Gerald's new life. "He deserves the truth," I replied. Gerald ran one shaking hand through his silver hair. "You're emotional right now." There it was. The final refuge of weak men. When women become dangerous, call them emotional. I almost smiled. "No," I said softly. "I'm organized." That sentence seemed to frighten him more than yelling ever could have. Later that evening, I sat alone in the dining room with my laptop open beside a cup of untouched tea. The same dining room where Crystal leaned close and whispered that poisonous sentence only 24 hours earlier. Funny how quickly a life changes. I emailed every document from the surrogate clinic to a private folder. Then I copied the bank transfers. The revised trust paperwork. The hidden account statements. Quietly. Methodically. By midnight, I had created an entire timeline of their betrayal. Affair. Financial transfers. Trust revisions. Surrogacy contracts. Everything. The truth looked ugly when arranged neatly. At 12:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. Crystal. I stared at her name for several seconds before answering. What? I asked calmly. Silence. Then her voice came softly through the speaker. You need to stop this. Not, I'm sorry. Not, this got out of control. Just, stop this. I leaned back slowly in my chair. Outside the window, porch. Lights glowed softly across the neighborhood while distant thunder rolled somewhere far beyond the lake. You came into my home, I said quietly. You sat at my table. You let my son call you family. Crystal exhaled sharply. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. The exact same sentence Gerald used. Amazing. Cheaters always sound identical eventually. You think Gerald loves you? I asked. Silence. That one landed. Because deep down, women like Crystal always know the truth. A man willing to betray his wife of 42 years will eventually betray anyone. He chose me, she said finally. I looked down at the surrogate paperwork resting beside my hand. No, I replied softly. He chose himself. Another silence. Then Crystal's voice lowered dangerously. If Ethan finds out everything, it'll destroy him. There it was. Not remorse. Strategy. Control. Fear. And suddenly, I realized something important. Crystal wasn't calling to protect my son. She was calling because she knew tomorrow's dinner might destroy the future she thought she had already won. The next evening, I set the dining table exactly the way I always had. 4 plates. 4 wine glasses. Cloth napkins folded carefully beside polished silverware. Routine matters when a family is about to collapse. Outside, the sky over Milwaukee burned orange and gray beneath the setting sun. The storm had finally passed, leaving the air strangely warm for October. At 6:15, Ethan arrived first. He looked exhausted. There were dark circles beneath his eyes now, and the nervous energy in his movements reminded me of the little boy who used to hide beside me during thunderstorms. Mom, he said quietly when I opened the door. I kissed his cheek gently. Crystal arrived 10 minutes later. Perfect makeup. Perfect hair. Perfect smile. Only her eyes betrayed her. Fear makes people look older. Gerald came downstairs last. He looked defeated already. Good. We sat together around the same mahogany dining table where this nightmare began. Funny how endings often return to the exact place everything broke. Nobody touched the food. Finally, Ethan looked at me. You said there's something I need to know. I folded my napkin slowly into my lap. Then I placed the folder on the table. No drama. No screaming. Just truth. Gerald closed his eyes immediately when Ethan opened the first page. Bank transfers. Hotel receipts. Messages. Then the surrogacy contract. The room went completely silent except for the soft ticking of the grandfather clock nearby. Ethan's hand started trembling. What is this? He whispered. No one answered. Because some betrayals become too ugly for language. Ethan turned another page slowly. Then another. His face lost all color. Crystal finally reached toward him. Ethan, please, he pulled away instantly. That movement hurt her more than anything I could have said. You told me you were pregnant, he said quietly. Crystal swallowed hard. I was trying to explain, with my father. The sentence shattered something inside the room. Gerald stood suddenly. Son, don't. Ethan's voice cracked sharply. Don't call me that right now. I had never heard my son sound like that before. Not angry. Broken. He looked at Gerald like a stranger had walked into his life wearing his father's face. Then Ethan turned toward me slowly. And the grief inside his eyes nearly destroyed me. You knew, he whispered. I nodded once. Tears finally filled his eyes. Not because of the affair. Because the people he trusted most had quietly turned his entire life into a lie. Crystal started crying then. Real tears this time. But it was too late for tears. Some damage cannot be undone once truth enters the room. Gerald tried speaking again. Eleanor, please, I looked at him calmly. Then I removed my wedding ring. 42 years. Reduced to one small circle of gold resting quietly against the dinner table. I already contacted my attorney, I said softly. The trust transfers are frozen. The accounts are under investigation. And tomorrow morning, I'm filing for divorce. Crystal went pale instantly. Gerald looked like the ground disappeared beneath him. But I felt strangely peaceful. Because for the first time in years, nobody at that table controlled my future except me. I stood slowly and picked up my coat from the hallway chair. No yelling. No revenge speech. Just dignity. Before leaving the dining room, I looked once more at the family photos hanging along the wall. Then at Ethan. My door will always stay open for you, I told him gently. His face collapsed completely after that. I walked outside into the cool evening air alone. The neighborhood was quiet. Wind moved softly through the maple trees while porch lights flickered on one by one down the street. Behind me, my old life was falling apart. But strangely, I no longer felt broken. Sometimes the worst betrayal of your life also becomes the moment you finally see your own worth clearly. And as I drove away from the house I once called home, I realized something important. They didn't destroy me. They revealed who they truly were.